started? Okay, sure. So once again, good evening, everyone. Tonight again, I'll be taking you on software testing as a continuation of the class we had on Wednesday. And again, I still remain your tutor, Yemi Ayola. And I hope you can hear me. So at least it's kind of a few class. So I'm kind of happy that we all can. So in this session, I'm just going to, because we are not so many, I'll look at the list. Fantastic. So you are free at any time to take me back. It's because we are just few in the class. So at any time you can take me back. But having said that, we have the chat is available. If you have any question, just put it there on the chat. So tonight, my major focus will be on I'll be looking at test management. And the reason for test management is that, like I said in the other class that we had on Friday, that there are certain things that are meant to start in sprint one. And one of the activities or one of the process or one of the main tasks we have to do in sprint one is this test management and what it entails and the likes. So this is what I intend to teach tonight. Should in case I finish quite early, I might now go back to another topic that we have. So we'll cut this and we'll start. That's in case I finish early. So yeah, so that takes us test management, as I've said. So what is our learning objective? So this is all we intend to take in this class today. So I'll start from first and foremost. I'll be talking about test management, risk and testing, entry criteria. I'll be talking about exit criteria. I'll be talking about test plan, how to design a test plan, test strategy, how to design a test strategy, and it will be Q&A. So these are the learning objective for this class. And again, my thought and what I will expect from you is just more of listening. Take whatever you can judge, but always remember that this particular topic forms a big part of your testing. You being a normal junior or a test analyst, a test lead, test manager. Apologies, under the weather, so sorry. So this particular topic is more essential and you will need it. So my expectation is that in this sprint one, you should be able to start getting your hands dirty in terms of hands-on on things like this. So I'll start with the first topic that we have today, and that will be test management process. So what is test management process? Test management process is a procedure of managing the software testing activities from start to end. That's what you're doing. So it's like now, you want to ensure that we have all the activities, everything we are going to do in a particular project documented. The reason is that you are working on the project. At the end of the project, you need to show and also to make people trust and have confidence in what have been tested. Hence, the reason why we have this test management process. You don't want to finish a job when you are working with clients, they want to know exactly what you want to do. You need to carry them along to say, this is what we have planned for this particular project. That's the reason we have the test management process. So you want to let them know, these are the activities that we are going to carry out. This is what we are going to test. This is how we are going to test it. These are who are the stakeholders, the SMEs involved in this. So accountability, responsibility, you want to make sure that people have that, so that when the project, maybe in 6 months or a year down the line, they want to review or audit the project, they know who and what they can speak to, who has worked on the project, what they have done, the processes, all those things are the reason we have that. So that's why it's a procedure of managing software testing activities. You see, it's specific to software testing activities from start to finish. The test management process provides planning, controlling, tracking, and monitoring facility throughout the whole project lifecycle. The process involves several activities like test planning, designing, and test execution. Don't forget, we have done that when we did the background, when we talked about the fundamental test process. So that's why I always tell people, when you are teaching manual testing class, right from the beginning, everything we are saying is all interwoven from beginning to the end. They all work hand in hand. So if you remember, test planning was our number one, the 5 fundamental process: test planning and control, test analysis and design, test implementation and execution, evaluating exit criteria, and finally, test closure activity. Those 5 is what is now coming into this place. And that's the way I told you that when you're going to design your tasks, follow that structure. People will know you're organized, you understand what you're doing. And it's easier for people to say, what are you doing in this phase? What are you doing in the next phase? What are you doing in the third phase? So you have an understanding of what the process and procedures are. It gives an initial plan and discipline to software testing process. So parts of test management process, we are talking about the parts now. The first one, there are 2 main parts of test management process. 1, planning. Planning, what are the things under planning? We have the risk analysis, we have the test estimation, we have the test planning, we have the test organization. Now we talk about execution, the test monitoring and control, issue management, test report and evaluation. Those are the things that we come back to say these are part of it. 2 main parts: planning, phase 1, execution, phase 2 of that. And they all come together as one. Risk analysis, you're analyzing. We want to know what exactly it is. You are looking at the test estimation. How long is it going to take us? Who is going to do it? First cycle, what are we going to test? Second cycle, what are we going to test? How are we going to test it? How is it going to be carried out? Test planning. We are talking. You said, please, can you mute? Thank you. Thank you. So test planning. Then the 4th one is test organization. You want to know, you want to organize it. What phases are we going to? We are going to do the smoke test, the C testing. These are the way we are going to start. Regression testing, exploratory testing, all various types of testing that you're going to do. You want to organize them. Then execution. You want to know, you want to test monitoring and control. You want to know that at every activity, This is what we have done. You are bringing it out to the team. Issue management, test report and evaluation. All this, we are going to explain them. So let's go. Test planning. So let's take the first one, is risk analysis. So risk is the potential loss and undesired outcome, however, not necessarily so, result from a given action or an activity. So something that you feel that if this thing is not done properly, you want to be sure if it's not done properly, it can cause this project to fail. It can have an adverse impact on the project we're working on. So you want to analyze it. You want to know the risk. If you don't forget, when we were doing keeping software under control, I said something there that, look at, learn to prioritize. And also, we said, when do you say enough is enough in the background? What I taught on Friday. I told you there were two words that we're talking, testing and risk. That is what we are doing here. You'll be testing, you'll be checking the risk, what it is. I asked you an example on that day that if you've got a car, what will be the first thing you know that if it's not tested properly, it can cause injury? You all answered brake. Fantastic. So you want to make sure that that brake aspect is tested properly. So risk is the potential of an undesired outcome, something that you're not expecting, resulting from a given action or an activity. Risk analysis is the first test which test manager should consider before starting a project. Now, you might ask that what are the risks? Let's say an example, you've got a big project. I'll give you an example. I'm working on a very vast big project in my organization. Of course, I've been the lead on it. And of course, because I've been working on that aspect, when new project come in, I understand from lesson learned. It's been years now I've been working on that particular, on various application, but on that integration, I've been there for quite a while. So I understand what the lesson learned, what is going to fail, what I'm going to. So now, this is a new integration that we are integrating into the system. We need to test that part, that route very well to ensure there are no breakage or there's no adverse effect on the previous ones that we have. I designed all the test cases myself because I have the newbies into it. So they are kind of new into the organization. So you just need to do those things yourself sometimes. So reviewing, giving to them to do. But what mine is to make sure that all the edge cases, all the things that I know is going to cause an issue, I should have highlighted it in my test plan. An example will be, we are just few in that project. There are a lot of work to do. Now, I need to train. It's one man, it's one point of failure, only me. So I know there's no, I wasn't feeling too well today. So if that point of failure, one person is the one that understands everything, you have to highlight that risk. You need to pass the knowledge. 2, we might need other people to help us test at a point in time because we might not be able to pull through. That was highlighted. I got people when the time come, when it was kind of a tight deadline for me, I got people to come in. So you can get like 5, we have them in other projects, so you can drag them up. Now I need you. So all those names would have been part of the things I put in my test plan. 3 is that, the connectivity is kind of a new one. I need to also highlight It can be a delay too, because it takes forever to raise tickets for them to answer you. All those risks are the things that can delay the testing coming out. So I need to highlight that. Also, if we don't have the right environment to put all this in, those are kind of risk you need to bring out when you're analyzing. Also, the cost of the project. What exactly? Because you have a minimal, oh, you're bringing in 10 people, they are going to allocate their time into there. Don't you feel this? That's why I said I will bring them in when I need them at this XYZ. So those are things that you would have highlighted in your test plan. So it's the first step which the test manager should consider before starting a project, because all projects may contain risk. Early risk detection and identification of its solution will help test manager to avoid potential loss in future and save on project cost. So all those things that I've highlighted, they know that maybe we are meant to, like I'm meant to deliver this on Friday to the UAT team. So if you're going to deliver that project on Friday to the UAT team, receipt tested. So me delivering, I don't want to move that date. Everyone was scared that, oh, that date is going to be moved. But sir, I know how I've designed my cycle. I finished testing like almost a week ago or 1.5 weeks. My team they finished testing. Everything we are doing now is more of exploratory, checking all the nitty-gritty. I go through all the requirements, ensure I have a traceability mapped to each of the stories that were. Those are just the major things I'm doing. And also prepping all the documentation. So, but I finished. But I can't tell, I just started bringing him to say, okay, everybody come and check it again. And those are the things. So, but you don't want to bring them at early stage when we first started. They'll tell you it's kind of cost consuming. So all those things are the things that all these are mainly for test managers. But I always advise that you as a test analyst, anybody can be called to do this. Anybody can be called to do this. So the next step is risk and testing. Remember, I told you that when we say enough is enough, you are looking at two words, testing and risk. It is not possible to talk about test management without first looking at the risk and how it will affect the fundamental test process defined earlier. I always try to, when I explain this fundamental test process, I love, look, whatever I'm telling you is what I do at my work. Whatever I'm preaching is what I'm doing. So most of the time, you are organized when you use this process. But I find that people miss it out. You forget this process, and at the long run, you miss out the various activities to be done in the testing phase. Now, what does it lead to? People won't really trust what you've tested. So they want to say, oh, you didn't test properly, you didn't do XYZ properly. So if there were no risk of adverse future events in software or hardware development, then there would be no need for testing. In other words, if defects did not exist, neither will this role that you are talking about, you and I won't be able to. So if you don't find a fault, this part of IT that is we testers, it won't be there. So the reason for this phase is what we are there. Always take that you as a tester, your bug is like the money you're making. We want you to break the system. We want you to test the edge cases. And to get bugs is more of negative testing. Happy part, everyone will do the happy part properly. Developers are good at the happy part. But the major thing is the negative testing. We'll talk about that when I talk about the test coverage today, if I have time. Risk, a factor that could result in future negative consequences, usually expressed as impact and likelihoods. That's all about risk and testing. What is risk analysis? Risk is the probability of occurrence of an undesired event. What we are not expecting. what shouldn't happen. We should think about it. You as a tester, remember the quality of a good software tester. We did that too in the last class. Think out of the box. Think out of the box. So you want to be sure that you are thinking out of the box. So you have to be able to look at what can happen in future. If that break is not tested properly, what will happen? Loss of life, loss of business reputation, loss of money. You have to pay compensation. If that person dies, you pay compensation. Nobody will come to the business again. So all those kind of things is what you want to highlight as risk first. So I liked always the test environment. I liked the connectivity of each of the environments we're linking to. We talk about all the accesses that we need. We talk about all those kind of risks that is going to slow a lot of things. You raise them. Risk analysis in software engineering is a process of analyzing the risk associated with your testing project. For the success of project, risk should be identified and corresponding solution should be determined before the start of the project. You see, when I said that, look at the environment, the connectivity, I might need more people to help me test. You need to have a contingency plan. So connectivity, if this part of the environment is not working, do we have another environment that we can use? You should have stated that down. We are just 4 in the team. This is way bigger than 4 people to test this project. So we need 3 or 4 other people to help. That would have been said also as part of the contingency plan. We need this, we need time to be able to get this. We need to start getting our accesses early. All those kind of things are the things that you should highlight before time. So when people are aware that this is a delay, then they know that, oh, there's every possibility testing might be delayed. Now, if you finish early, fantastic. But at least you've given them a heads up to let them know that anything could happen. These are the reason that you have stated down. So all those things. So the next thing is test estimation. How do we do the test estimation? I always use test estimation. I use this tape measure just to know that, of course, we are measuring what we have. So an estimate is a forecast or prediction. Test estimation is appropriately determined how long a task would take to complete. So, as I've said earlier, this project is meant to take us, is going to be with us for 4 weeks. How do we want to test it? The first 2 weeks, I'll do the cycle 1. So in cycle 1, because it's new, it's just been deployed to the environment, to the test environment, you are kind of testing, finding a lot of bugs, you are raising the bugs, and it's there. So fixes are going on. We are raising bugs, we are testing. After the niche of the first 2 weeks, we've completed cycle 1. Test cases are now the ones that have been executed. Those not run, we've actually highlighted the reason, and we take the next cycle, maybe cycle 2, to now say, okay, all the bug fixes, we retest everything. We start again doing some exploratory testing. What have we not touched? What have we not? So you need that estimation for people for all stakeholders to have an understanding. This is what we are going to test. It gives them a visibility that, in the first 2 weeks, they've touched everything. They've given us a test execution report. They've given us a report to say, this is what we have done. So you want to estimate that this is what we are going to do. So how do you do the estimation? Take an example. You've written maybe 200 or 1K test test cases. You're like 4 in the TM, you're 4. You want to give an estimation to look at it. Okay, from your end, how many can each of us do? Maybe 30 in a day, or 40 in a day, or 20 in a day. For the next 2 weeks, you count things like that. That's the way you look for the way to do your test estimation. And you'll be able to assign it. It's okay. Maybe in a day, we are all able to execute 80, give or take. We have everything working. It might not be, it could be plus or minus. So it depends on what we can do on that day. So that's the way to break your analysis, to break your test estimation so that it's kind of visible. We know that we can do 50 or test cases on that. So it will help. Estimating effort for the test is one of the major and important tasks in test management. So if you estimate it, if you know that you are meant to do 30 a day, so at the end of the day, if you take the report, maybe and you find out that, oh, we didn't meet 80, so you are short of it. So you need to look for, how are we going to get there? So all those things, what are the blockers? What are the things that we need to do? All those things are the things that constitutes the test estimation. What are the benefits? 1, accurate test estimation leads to better planning, execution, and monitoring of tasks under test management intention. So it will lead to a better testing. So you are able to plan better as a test manager. You have an understanding that this is what is going to happen. This is how we are going to test it. This is how the execution phase is going to be. And you can monitor them. You see, I said, okay, I've gone there. Maybe it was 60, my team is able to achieve today. I'll look, okay, is it because we are short one? Did I finish it? Okay, what have you done today? What happened? What were the blockers? How can I unblock you? Shout out. Those kind of thing. So it gave me that, oh, we are now short of maybe a day in our cycle 1. So that's the way we start analyzing from that day to be able to. 2, allow for more accurate scheduling and help realizing results are more confident. Our results are more confident. So let's give an example, is that I've said that we have quite a number of test cases, and we've just got resources like 4. At this time, I will look at it in the next 2-3 days. If the test cases are still short, then I need one more person to help me. I need 2-3 people to help me. So I can quickly call for help. Now, can you please join the team? This is it. We have this shot and I can give my analysis. Now, what helped me that? Now that person is, those people are coming into the team to also take an edge to help in those ones that are the test cases that we are short of. So those are the way that that's the benefit. It helps you test the accurate test estimation. It leads to better planning, estimating, and monitoring, and it allows accurate scheduling. So those are the major thing on test planning. So let's take test planning, test estimation. So don't worry, we've done the first one, risk analysis, analysis. We've done the test estimation. Now it's the test planning, which is the big one. You're planning. So this is test plan. So test plan can be defined as a document describing the scope, approach, resources, and the schedule of intended test activities. Scope, approach, resources, schedule. Look, we talk about the scope. So now you ask me, what are the scope? What are the scope of what we are going to test? What phases? What are the things that we are going to test? What is the scope for us as testers? So we need to understand what we are testing in this particular project, what our scope is. We have documents, would have been attending the kickoff meeting, would have been part of the planning. What are the things that we have in scope? We'll put our in scope activities. What are the approaches? What is the test approach we want to take? What is test approach? Okay, this is the approach we are going to take. We are going to go through all these test levels. We'll start first with a smoke test to ensure that we all have access. Look at the access, pull through a policy, pull through a policy, pull through um, 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 an end-to-end process to just see that we all have access to it. Then we know that the next phase, we want to go and test the integration, or we are going to the test environment. So once we've gone into it, we'll start testing. What are the things that we want to do? We want to start with exploratory testing. From there, we look at the functional testing. From there, we look at our regression testing. From there, so all those approach, it needs to be stated one after the other. Resources. What are resources? Resources are you and I. You and I are the people that form the resources. So as long as you're part of a team, you are being allocated. You're like, it's the resource is as you're working as part of a project. A project, money is involved with that project. So you as part of the project, as long as you are being paid on a daily rate or maybe a permanent rate, we all are taxed into it. As long as you record your time to that project, you are a resource in it. So as long as you're working in that project, you're a resource. And the schedule is what I've explained. What time frame are we going to? How are we going to? Those are the kind of breakdown I did in the estimation phase. So a project will fail without a complete test plan. Definitely. Test planning is particularly important in large software system development. In software testing, a test plan gives detailed testing information regarding an upcoming testing effort, including it will give you detailed test in information. So this is what we want to do. These are what are in scope. This is what is out of scope. So in scope, we test all this kind of feature, all the user stories we've been given. These are what we are going to test. Then we have the test approach. So what is the test approach? All those phases we tell them, the resources, and what we are doing in the schedule. So if you plan that with detailed information to say this is it, what is our contingency plan, dependency, what is the dependency? Maybe we need some training, maybe we need to get more hands. All those things should have been incorporated into your test plan. Then that takes us to test strategy. What is test strategy? And these are the things that we do when it comes to test planning. But test strategy, we are still coming to it. Test strategy, the testing objective. So your strategy can also be embedded in your test plan. So in some organization, most organization, they mix these two, test plan and test strategy. Some take it as one. You can come in and maybe the government then, the test manager that will come in or whosoever is the lead there might say, oh, the way it takes test strategy is different from the way it takes test plan. Take this, take that. So, but there are some different ways that test plan and test strategy, you will know the difference very soon. So the things that include in test plan and test strategy, the testing objectives. What is our objective? We talk about the exit and suspension criteria. Exit, stop, and suspension criteria. So when you're suspending something, then the reason for your suspension will be that maybe you've started testing an application. Let's take BlueSky, this BlueSky application. You started testing. Immediately you were given that application to test, you found a lot of bugs. Maybe within 2 hours, it has happened to me before, but I can tell you, I knew immediately and I stopped. I suspended that test. Within 1 hour, I've raised like almost 50 bugs. So, and I told them, I said, immediately, as I've raised 50 bugs, I just stopped. I said, there's no, once within 2 hours, if I've raised from 30 bugs, there's no point. I don't go further. Immediately I stop. I'll just tell them it's because it's waste of time. So I send an email out. Of course, we are suspending testing. That will be I'm suspending testing. Reason because I've got XYZ bugs and this is the list. Send the link to them. Suspend. I feel it's the wrong code that was deployed. If not, they should fix all this first before I can continue. Most of the time, there are mistakes maybe a wrong code is deployed into a different branch. The branch that was linked to the test environment, we don't have the necessary things there. Hence, everything will fail. So I won't see what is it. So you stop. There's no point wasting your time. The next thing, resource planning. So resource planning is what I've been talking about. Yourself, everything we are going to use there. We are resources. Then the test deliverables. What are our deliverables? What do we want to do? What do we want to achieve? All these are part of the things that constitute. These are processes. These are the main things that we do in test plan. So this test plan guy is a big person, and the people that are involved in him, that are main thing there. Your test strategy, test objective. If you want to do an exit and entry criteria, I put everything in the test plan. Exit, entry, exit, suspension. I put it in there. And of course, when you resume to resumption. So all these things are the 4 things I put as part of that. Then resource planning is always there, then test deliverables. So that's what we talk about test planning. Test organization is software testing. We are trying to organize. You can see these 4 people, they have come together and it forms one. Except if you're the only one in the organization as a software tester, then you can be able to do. But this one now you can see, they all came together as one. They are trying to build up and they try to form it well. If you see, this picture depicts, it talks about a lot of things. See, you come with your own expertise. I bring another person, you come and this other person. So these are things that we do in the organization. We come together as a team, we brainstorm, and we put our activities into action. So test organization in software testing is a process of defining roles in the test process. It defines who is responsible for what activities in testing process. So color red is going to be the one to do the regression phase. Color green will do the smoke, will start off everybody with the smoke test. Color yellow, we'll talk about maybe functional testing. Color B, we do the exploratory testing. So whoever is into, so you could bring it and say these are various expertise to just come on it. So test functions, the facilities and activities are also explained in the same process. The competencies and knowledge of the people involved are also defined. However, everyone is responsible for the quality of testing process. Look, if the project work as expected, it's not one person, even if it's a test manager. It's all within the testing team. We are all aiming to achieve same goal. Even if you have tested this properly, if anything fails, it's still within the same team. So we bring all this, but we just want to make sure that, ensure that you keep your own gate you test properly and you do this. This is what is expected of you. So you have accountability. You know who is responsible for this. You know who is going to do this. So those are the things that is involved there. So the next thing is test monitoring and control. It should be test monitoring and control. So the first thing is, when you talk about the test monitoring and control, so we want to ensure that what is expected we want to put everything under control. The test manager, all the activities, every one of us, we want to have a check. Make it transparent so that people will know this is exactly what we are doing. What will you do when your project runs out of resources or exceeds the time schedule? You need to monitor and control test activities to bring it back on schedule. You see the example I gave you? We have said that we are 4 in the team and 2020 will be delivered in a day. Day 1, we weren't able to achieve it. Maybe we got 50. So we are short of 30. Day 2, we managed to complete 60. We are short of 20. Now that gives me a mindset that one day is already short of the test plan I'm expecting for 2 weeks. My test execution for 2 weeks. So with that phase and analysis, it will make me understand that let me quickly draft someone in to help me to test. Those are the key things that you have there. So test monitoring and control is a process of overseeing all the metrics necessary to ensure that the project is running well, on schedule, and not out of budget. You see, we know that we're already short of one day. We want to do the major thing. We don't want to exceed the time limit, the deadline we've been given. So give or take, we want to put it in, no matter how it is. So those are the main thing that we do for the test monitoring. So now we go to so we have finished that execution. We are now in execution phase. So that's the first side was on planning side. Now is the execution phase. We're monitoring. So how do you monitor? Look at this man. Is kind of looking at the scope, monitoring with his children as they are working. So now, how do you monitor a process? You want to be kind of ensure that you have a visibility of all the metrics, what you're reporting, what you're recording. Remember, in the execution phase, in the fundamental test process, it says you're planning and control. You are monitoring. When you have planned, you've written the tests, you've designed the test cases, you have now implemented it, you want to execute it. And that's the phase we are. You want to be looking at it. What is making us not execute this right, not to get the right metrics at that time? All those questions are the thing that you want to be looking at and be having an understanding and be recording at every phase. I tell people the earlier you start, the better for you. Monitoring is a process of collecting, recording, and reporting information about the project activities that the project manager and stakeholder needs to know. So my first 2 days, I've got 50 test cases. Meanwhile, prior to that time, in my analysis, I actually prepare a spreadsheet just to put the execution phase to say XYZ is going to do this. This is what we have envisaged. Now I come back the next 2 days to say, oh, we are short of 20 day 1, we are short of 20, 30 day 2. In a real world, even the project manager will look, since you're short of 50, it's better we start pulling in people into the team. Exactly. And how will he know? Because I've given the visibility, I've given the metrics, everyone is kind of aware of what it is. And also it's been written in my test plan to say, I might need people at my execution phase. So now I need them. So they will come in. To monitor, test manager does this following activities. 1, define the project goal or the project performance standard, like we have been saying. 2, you observe the project performance and compare between the actual and the planned performance expectation. We have actually planned that is 50, is 80 we are going to execute today. Now, that's our plan. The actual now is that we executed only 50. So we are left with 30. 30 is now way beyond what we are looking at. So he first defines the goal. That's what he has done in his project. The other, he now observes it, and you do that daily. We have tools that can help us. ADO, you can do all your reporting there. It is visible. When I give a report, my reports are kind of clear and okay. If you have any doubt, I've got where the bugs are logged. I've got where you can go on it. You go to ADO, the link is there. It takes you directly to where the test plans are, the test suites that I've created, all the test cases that have been added, executed, not run. The charts are there. So I would have done everything in that. I would have prepared that. So it's kind of easier for me. No, any question, people can just refer to the link and they'll go there and see it. You don't need to go into dive into the test cases. You just want to see the metrics. The metrics are there. Then you record and report any detected problem which happened to the project. So if I'm short of people, if I don't have access or connectivity quickly, I start escalating immediately. Start pulling project managers in and telling them, take all of them in the loop. I put everyone in the loop so that it's easier for them to have a visibility of it. Once they know that you're working, you can just send an email. This is not working. This is not working. They'll be the one to start escalating for you. So this is how the test manager does all his activity. He will define it, he will observe it, he will record and report it. So now control issue management. As mentioned in the beginning of the topic, all projects may have potential risk. So when the risk happens, it becomes an issue. In the life cycle of any project, there will always be an unexpected problem and questions that crop up in every life cycle. For example, the company cuts down your project budget. So they'll tell you, no, that 4 in your team is too much. Let's manage 2. That is a risk. 2, your project team lacks the skill to complete the project. So like now, I've pulled people in. They don't have the skill. I'm facing the same thing currently. I can tell you. They don't have the skill. 3, the project schedule is too tight for your team to finish the project at the deadline. So it might just be too tight to finish the project at the deadline. So all this, if I've highlighted, this one is not me that cut the budget, is the project. So there's nothing 2 of us. By the time it's reduced, it's going to affect us. Maybe now we need to bring in people that now I need to train or doesn't have the training. That's another risk. Then the project is maybe instead of 4 weeks, we're giving 2 weeks a deadline. Just bring something out. How? So you will understand that anything could be the problem. Risks to be avoided while testing are 1, missing the deadline. Missing the deadline is key. 2, exceed the project budget. 3, loss the customer's trust. I'm always kind of key here. And do you know most of the things that make you lose customer trust is because if you don't give proper documentation, visibility of what you are doing, they won't believe what you want to do. Test plan before testing commence, you should have gotten it approved by the project team, the project manager, all the team at large. You should give them a walkthrough. This is what we want to do in the test plan. I'm going to give you an assignment in this class, which I'm expecting you to do at the end of the class. Then when these issues arises, you have to be ready to deal with them, or they can potentially affect the project's outcome. So you missing the deadline, exceeding the project budget, lose the customer's trust. None of them is kind of good. It's better you just ensure that, like, if you know you can use 2 weeks to test, tell them you need, don't overestimate, but give yourself good timing so that you have the time and you can also save. If you do very quickly and you're fine, then fine. Because all this estimation, they place it as part of the cost before the project starts. So if you tell them you have 4 weeks to test and you can do it within 2-3 weeks, it's fantastic. But you are still, your other week will be more of relaxation and bringing things in. Then test report and evaluation. That's what you have said in our fundamental protest process. The project has already completed. It's now time to look back what you have done. What have you done? So that is where your test completion report comes. The purpose of the test evaluation report is one. Test evaluation report describes the result of the testing in terms of test coverage and exit criteria. I still have to teach you what test coverage is, the good test coverage. So I'll see how I can end the class on Friday to give you a look on that and exit. Then the data used in test evaluation are based on the test results data and the test summary data. Don't forget, I told you, if you have 5 test cases, you don't say 5 of them is what is gone. We talk about percentage. That's what I told you. 5, you change it to 100%. 30 passed. I mean, 3 of them passed, which is 60%. 2 is blocked or 2 is failed. That kind of analysis, that kind of coverage is what you give. And exit criteria is when it means, I told you there are 2 words: entry criteria, exit criteria. Entry, when to start. Exit, when to stop testing. So then we go to test management. What is the test management? Test estimation, we have talked about it previously. Test management. The syllabus details 2 test estimation approach: metrics-based approach and expert-based approach. These 2 approaches are quite different. Metric-based approach and the expert-based approach. What are metrics? Metrics are what I've explained to you just now, giving you a visibility. I've got 5 test cases or 10 test cases, 70% passed. All those kind of number of test conditions, number of tests executed, not run, number failed, number of those breakdowns is what is on metric based. Expert based is with your expertise. This is what you are working on. This is what you have to say. That is the 2 things. The 2 approaches are quite different. The formal being based upon data, that's the first one, while the later is somewhat subjective approach. So that first one, this metric base, is based on data. It's the data that I've given you now. Number of test cases you have written, number run, number failed, number blocked, number passed. So those ones, not run, all those kind of things. Then the other one is a subjective approach. I understand how this application works. The metrics-based approach. The metrics approach relies upon data collected from previous or similar projects. This kind of data includes the following. Number 1, you see the number of test conditions. So these are what you have written. The number of test cases written. The number of test cases executed. The time taken to develop the test cases, that's to design the test cases. The time taken to run the test cases. The number of defect found. So These are the kind of data, the number of environment outrage and how long on average each time lasted. So all these are things that we talk about when it comes to test management, the metrics-based approach. The number of test conditions, the test cases written, the number of executed, developed, these breakdowns are what we do for metric-based. Metrics are just data. Entry criteria. So in test management, we need this. This will give you a visibility of entry. Entry, when you want to enter somewhere, you want to enter somewhere, you want to go into somewhere, you want to start something. Entry in testing is starting. Entry criteria are used to determine when a given test activity can start. This could include the beginning of a level of testing, when test design or when test execution is ready to start. So now in your phase, your entry criteria will be exactly, have you started, when you start designing your test cases, when you start doing all this, that's when your test execution, that's when you can say you started. Some typical entry criteria may be: 1, all test cases and test scripts are ready. You have designed it, you have analyzed it. So entry criteria take us to the first fundamental test process. If you can understand what I've been saying, I've been referring back to fundamental test process, which gives you to understand that the background of testing is always embedded in whatever you do in testing. So all your test cases and scripts are ready. Test environment is ready and stable. Code build and deployment to test environment successful. Smoke test passed. You can see all the entry criteria. Relevant requirement artifacts are available. What are the relevant requirement artifacts? One of them is what we're discussing now: the test management, the test plan, the test strategy, all this. Your test cases have been, and the scripts are ready, test environment are ready, the code and deployment to test environment successful. That's when you can say testing has started. Don't just start at a hole. Smoke test pass. Smoke test is part of an exercise to be done during entry criteria. It gives you an edge to understand that is my access is working. If your smoke test does not pass, you can shout aloud, my smoke test failed. We can't start testing. It's your call as a tester. You own it. So if you cannot start, it's better you don't start it. So that is what entry criteria is all about. So now we go to exit criteria. Exit. You're exiting the building. You know, most houses or most organization, even your house, they'll tell you, you see the exit door. That whenever there is any fire alarm or anything, you exit through this place. So the exit criteria is when you go out, when you stop. That's what exit is. Exit criteria in testing is often viewed as a single document commensurating the end of life cycle phase. It can be defined as the specific condition or ongoing activities that should be fulfilled before completing the software testing life cycle. I'm going to still talk about software is another topic, an interesting topic on its own. Specifics: which exit criteria is required at each testing phase. The exit criteria can identify the intermediate deliverables and enable you to track them as independent event. So, in a nutshell, when you want to say you have completed testing, that is when you talk about exit criteria. Most of the time, we bring in a meeting. Oh, that reminds me. So we bring in a meeting to say a no-go or go. So what it means is that, are we sure we want to get it to the next phase? So from test environment, do we want to push into UAT? So if we have stopped testing, it means we have completed all the phases that we need to have done. We have executed everything in the test plan. We are good to go. We are happy with it. Then I can stamp my name to it to say, ready, go to the next phase. So these activities, this kind of process, this phase, this life cycle is what you want to ensure that everything that you have planned in your test plan has been executed. Then that is when you can say, I'm ready to go. We can stop testing, give it to the next phase. So that takes us to test management. Now, I'm iterating back on what we have done from the beginning. I have a reason. Test management is key. All the phases you look, the foundation you have now. I tell people, if you don't understand the foundation, there's no point going further. Even if you go into automation, you will still come back into this foundation. So I love to iterate, but now it's now mainly for us to have an understanding that this is what activity we have done before, and we are going to go through it. So risk and testing. It is not possible to talk about testing management without first looking at the risk and how it affects fundamental test process. Don't forget, we have said that previously. I'm iterating on everything back. Risk, a factor that could result in future negative consequences, usually expressed as impact and likelihood. I've stated that when we started the class. Again, it now gives me to go to the big topic of today, which is test plan and strategy. Start first with test plan. What is test plan? Test plan is a detailed document that describes the test strategy, objectives, schedule, estimation and deliverable, and resources required for testing. I'm going to keep it talking about this all the time. Test plan helps us to determine the effort needed to validate the quality of application on that test. Any application you are working on is what we mean by application on that test. So if you have been given a project now to work on, that project that you're working on, once you're given the application is under test. So it's AUT. The test plan serves as a blueprint to conduct software testing activities as defined process, which is minutely monitored and controlled by the test manager, by the team at large. The test manager will tell you to design it. Like I'm working on a project, there's different interfaces to it. So one wing of it is what is within my remit. He as a program test manager, he's written an high-level test plan just to say all the interfaces and X, Y, 1, 2, 3, 4, the people in that same project. But when I am working, he asked me, I said, yes, I will do my test plan because that is my own place. I need to give you a test plan. You look at it, you approve it. I'll walk you through, I will demo it to you. Then if you tell me what your concerns are. So I did the API part of it, integration, and I sent it to him. And that is the way you are meant to. I don't want to always say it's the test manager that is meant to design it. He can assign it to you. You go and design it and he will review it. So there's nobody that can design a test plan. To be honest, there are 1001 templates of test plan that you can get from. So importances of test plan. What are the importance of test plan? One, designing a test plan has multiple benefits. Helps people outside the test team, such as developers, business managers, customers, understand the details of testing. Look, when people of this, when the stakeholders have that understanding that this is a test plan. Look, if a project fails or there are bugs that slips, the first thing they ask you, do you have a test plan? That's the first question. If you have a test plan, where are your test cases? Do you have this? What are the test data? That's when the questions start coming in. If you don't have a test plan, believe you me, they will believe that you didn't do any testing. So you must have a test plan. When you also get into an organization as a new employee, if you are taken into a project, the first question you need to look at is, ask them is, one, do you have it, if you are given to, do you have any documentation that you can, any documents that you can go through? Two, do we have a test plan for this project? Yes or no? If they do, they will let you know. If they don't, that's where you want to show your skills. You tell them, okay, give me the documents that you have on this project. I'll start designing a test plan. When you talk like that, they understand that this person understands what you don't just come in and say there is no test plan, you want to start designing a test case. No. It's a process. Fundamental test process is a process. Test planning and control. If you don't plan, there's no how you can do this thing. You want to build a house, you just get there and just say, start putting blocks. You did not plan. You don't know what you can build on the floor. You didn't do a foundation. You didn't lay the proper bed. Once you put the blocks there, by the time the wind will blow, it will bring down the whole house. Hence, the same thing with our own, we in the testing world. If you don't plan, the whole thing will come off. So people won't trust you. The next thing, test plan guides our thinking. It's a rule book which we all need to follow. So I look at, oh, we've executed this phase. Smoke test has been done, completed. It's just like a checklist for us. It guides our thinking. We all understand what we want to do. Important aspects like test estimation, test scopes are documented in the test plan. So it can be reviewed by the management team and reused by other projects. These are the benefits of test plan. How to write a test plan. So if you look at it, always look at the number and you look at the way the arrow is going. I love to do it because I just do it like somewhat like an S shape. So one, analyze the product. The product, the application on that test here is the BlueSky Citadel learning platform. You want to register. That's an example. You analyze the product. How do you analyze the product? Okay, you've looked at it. How does this going to work? Who are we? Who are our target audience? Who are the people that are going to use the application? The next thing is design test strategy. So we are coming to that. Take that niche. We are coming to how you design a test strategy. Design the test objectives. What are the main things that we want to do? What are the approaches we want to take? What phases are we going to look? What are the test levels we're going to work on? We are going to do the integration phase, the unit testing phase. All those phases, we want to look at them. What types of test approach are we going to do? Regression testing, exploratory testing, functional testing, integration testing. All those things are the things that we want to put as part of the objectives. Plan, then the next thing is define the test criteria. How do you define the test criteria? The test criteria is defined by what are the things that you want to do? What are the criteria that we need to do? What types of tests and what types of things are needed? Who is going to do X, Y, Z? That leads us to test resourcing. What are the resourcing? You and I. We have the project manager, we have the data analyst, we have the scrum master, we have developers, we have solution architects, all this kind of thing that incorporates in as part of the team are part of the resources. Plan test environment. What test environment are we going to use? We should understand, we should have an understanding, make it clean and clear. Schedule and estimation. So what is our estimation? How long is it going to take us? Who is going to do XYZ? How long? What are the metrics? All that. Then determine the test deliverables. What are our deliverables? What is the milestone? How long is it going to take us? What are the things that we're going to break everything down? That's how you start. So let's start with the first one, how to write a test plan. Analyze the product. The product under test is BlueSky Citadel website. I take it as an example. You should research clients and the end users. So who are the target audience? Target audience are end users. Who is going to use that? So like this BlueSky Citadel, you know from ages maybe 16 or 10 and above is our target audience. So we know that these are the people that are going to use it, to know their needs and the expectation from the application. So that will give us an expectation. What will a 10 years old use this application for? What will a 16 years old use it for? What will 20, what will 30, XYZ? You want to get an understanding of it by analyzing it. One, what do? Who will use the website? Who is going to use it? We've said that is for this, is going to be for people that want to learn in IT. Those are the people that is going to use the website. Two, what is it used for? What are we going to use it for? It's a learning platform. We want to register there. We want to work, we want to gain more knowledge on IT. We have a face. That's what is used for. Then how will it work? How is it going to work? So now, how it will work really determines what you are going to do. How will it work? So we need to have an understanding. How is it going to work? How are they going to navigate? How this is going to be used? Now, you will ask me that, how do you expect me to know all this? You will be given a documentation. You would have started the kickoff meeting. You would have been part of the team. They will be telling you, BlueSky Citadel project website is coming on. Well, this is what we want to do. The target audience are from 16 to 70 years. I'm giving an example. This is what is going to be used for. Is a learning platform. So you're already getting an answer from all the documentation, from all the user story, from all the meetings that you have. What are softwares and hardwares? The product we use. So what are the software? What are the hardwares? What do we need to use? So you just need your laptop. You need to have to know what exactly you're going to use. The software you're going to use, all this will be determined and will be given to you. Most of these answers, you would have gotten it from the documentation you've been shared with. So this is how to analyze the product. Then number two, how to develop the test strategy. How do you develop a test strategy? Test strategy is a critical step in making a test plan. Test strategy document is a high-level document, which is usually developed by test managers. That's what they say. Is but I don't want ignore this test manager and say by any one of us. So that's number two. Then is continuation. Define test objective. What are the test objectives? This is overall goal and achievement of the test execution. The objective of the testing is finding as many software defects as possible to ensure that the software under test is bug-free before release. So as I've said, bug as a tester, not that bug is like the money you earn. You want to break the system. The more you get bugs, the more confident that we have in the products that we are developing. So that's the way it is define the test objectives. Sorry. So one, to define the test objective, you should do two following steps. One, list all the software features, functionalities, performance, the GUI. GUI is graphical user interface. Talk about the phases of testing you want to do. List them out. It's easier. So you know that we are going to do functional testing. We are going to do performance testing, which includes load, stress, volume testing. The interface, we are going to work on the graphical interface, look at the UI, look at this thing. You also talk about the database testing, so which could involve you querying the database to get an answer for whatever is in the back end. So that's something else you can do. So a lot of activities, just list them. When you list them, it's easier for you to be able to record. Define the target or the goal of the test based on the above features. So any targets, the goal, whatever you just define it based on what you have listed here. So what are the targets? What is the goal? And the test. So all these things are the things that you look at when you're defining your test objective. You look at the target or the goal of the test based on the above features. And what are the above features? The functionality, the performance, the GUI, the database, all these things are the things that you can actually look at. Then again, we talk about number 4. What's number 4? Define the test criteria. What are the test criteria? Is a standard or a rule on which a test procedure or test judgment can be based. There are 2 types of test criteria as follows. Number 1, entry criteria. We've talked about it before. Number 2, exit criteria. So those are the 2 test criteria, when to start and when to stop. Number 5 now, we continue. Resource planning. What is resource planning? Resource plan is a detailed summary of all types of resources required to complete the project tasks. You and I have explained who resources are. Resource could be human, requirement, and human. So human, you and I, equipment that we are going to use, those test environments, your laptops, all the things you're going to use, and materials needed to complete a project. All these are part of things that form resource planning. Number 6 now is plan test environment. So you need a test environment. What is a test environment? Test environment, a testing environment is a setup of software and hardware on which the testing team is going to execute test cases. The test environment consists of real business and user environment, as well as physical environment such as server, front-end running environment. So mainly, you might be asking me, I've been talking about test environment. An example will be when you go to the BlueSky Citadel that we are using as a case study here. That is a live environment. Your test, the URL will still be the same thing. URL is called that login that you have, that link that you clicked on is a URL, is also the endpoint. That one, you will be given the same link when the developers have finished development and want to give to seat. That link can be visible to you as testers only, you in the team. If I am not part of your team, I might not have an access to it. So I might not be able to see it if I'm not within the organization. So meaning that if someone from the public come, they cannot use that link to test. So that link is only when it is live. That is when it is visible to the public. So everything you are testing is still within the test. It's only you people that are saying it. It's until when you are happy with it for it to go live. That's when everybody, when I mean everybody, the public can use it. How to write a test plan. We still continue. Schedule and estimation. We've been talking by creating a solid schedule in test planning. The test manager can use it as a tool for monitoring the project progress, control the cost overrun. So, one, to create the project schedule, the test manager needs several types of input as below. Employee and project deadline. The working days, the project deadline, resource availability are the factors which affected to the schedule. So let's say an employee, the project deadline, all these things are part of the thing that is involved when you are doing your schedule and also your estimation. So you want to know, employee, you and I, we are there. What is the project deadline? By 28th of March, we should have it. Have this going into UAT. Good. So how many working days do we have within it? Who is going to be on holiday? Who is available? How can we, all those questions are the things we need to understand before when you're estimating and scheduling. Project estimation. Based on the estimation, the test manager knows how long it takes to complete the project. So he or she can make the appropriate project schedule. So, like I've said, if I know that there are I need 3 more people, I would have known from the very first 3 days when we're short of like 100 test cases. So you quickly need to bring people in, because the more you leave it, the longer, the more tight the deadline. So the earlier you pick it and people join you in the team, it's kind of easier. Project risk. Understanding the risk helps test manager add enough extra time to the project schedule to deal with the risk. So it's just understanding the request. Still going back to the beginning, you must understand the project risk. So finally, the test deliverable is a list of all documents, tools, and other components that needs to be developed and maintained in support of the testing efforts. So that is a test deliverable. All documentation, your test plan, all the tools you are going to use, the accesses, all the components that we need to make sure that this project is a success from testing point of view, is what is embedded in the test deliverables. There are different test deliverables at every phase of the software development lifecycle. One, before testing, during testing, and after testing. So these are the phases that we, so before testing, what are the things that we do before testing? I've listed some of them. So you must have all your documentation, your testing artifact. You've created your test plan, you've done your test scripts, you've designed that. So during testing, you want to start implementing and executing it. After testing, you need to bring out reports. So what have you done? What is it? Your test completion report. So these are phases. Before your testing, you do all your testing prep. Right? Design your test cases, design a test plan first, design the test cases, make everything ready. Do you have environment? Do you have all these things ready? Accesses have been given to all team members. During the testing, we are executing, be carrying everyone along, be delivering, be giving them a daily report of whatever has been executed. Do we need people to come in? Yes. Make it clean. After the testing, prepare a test completion report. Then we go to test strategy. What is test strategy? Test strategy is a plan for defining the approach to the software testing lifecycle, STLC. It guides the QA. We as quality assurance, we as test analysts, we as software testers, we as quality engineer to define test coverage and testing scope. It always also aids tester to get a clearer picture of the project at any instance. The possibility of missing any test activity is very low when there is a proper test strategy in place. The test strategy document answers questions like what you want to get done, how you are going to accomplish it. It is the most important document for any QA, for any software tester, for any test analyst, for a test manager, QA team in software testing. Writing or designing an effective test strategy document is a skill that a tester develops with experience. So with experience, of course, as I've said, there are various templates out there. You can collate, get answers from there. Testing strategy plan should be communicated with the entire team so that the team will be consistent on approach and responsibility. So with test strategy, we as testers own it. It's for us. It's for our own understanding. It's a breakdown. It's a blueprint so that we know exactly what we want to do, how this is going to be done, what is needed, what is within our remit to test. That is what test strategy is. How to prepare a good test strategy document. So we'll start by saying when you want to prepare a good test strategy document, every organization has a unique and set of rules for software designing. So do not copy. You can design your own. You can make your own unique, to be honest. You can get to an organization. Most organizations have their template of what they want you to do. They have the template. Like we have a template that we do, but in the template, you just need to now put what the project is. There's already placeholders in the template. Having said that, when I joined, they didn't have those templates. So the only thing is that we came up as a team. These are things that you can refresh. You add this, look at it, and we put a placeholder. But of course, as long as they have it, you can change anything you want to change there. You can add yours. So you cannot copy a template for insurance and go and use it for website. It doesn't correlate. But you can have an idea of what it is. You can use the placeholder. Then what they want to design, what the ask is, or what you are expected to do is the information you get from the project. Do not copy any organization blindly. Always ensure that their document is compatible and add value to your software development before following the template. So that's the way it is. So scope, the first step, scope. It defines parameters like who will review the document. So this is like document versioning, document control. Who is going to review it? What version are we starting with? You start with an initial draft. It's been reviewed and updated by this. Who are the distribution list? Who are the people to review and sign off? What other documents are related to it? That's what it's going to be. It's just one page. It's just an header. You don't need to. So who will approach this document? Who will approve it? That's what I've said. It's just one. If I tell you it's just one page, that's what you have in page. Software testing activities carried out with timeline. So what are the timelines? What are your expectations? When is it going to end? What are the things? So you know the timeline. You would have been given the timeline. You would have been told that this is when we are going to have it. So how to prepare a test strategy document. One, we are going to step 2, test approach. What are the test approach? It defines the process of testing. The testing levels. So what are the process of testing? Test levels, unit testing, integration testing, acceptance testing, all those kind of levels. Roles and responsibility of each team member. We've got the test manager, we've got the testers, the developers. What are their roles? You as a test analyst, you design, you execute the design and execute all the test cases. Developers, they will be the ones to code, deploy the close, and the solution architect will be the one to give us a blueprint or majorly and more of an understanding diagrams of how the connection or the integration will be. We talk about the business analyst. Who is the business analyst? She get the big information and deliver everything to us. We've got the product owner in an agile environment, like the way you are now. Who is the product owner? The PO is the person that have the major understanding of what he or she is expecting in the project. So those people are the roles, their responsibility. So what will he will be the one that will be giving you information of whatever it is. You've got other people within the data analyst that will be looking at the data. It depends on how the team is and the organization you're working with. Some don't have solution architect, some don't have data analyst. Whatever they have in the organization is what we go with. Types of testing. What types of testing are we going to do? Functional testing, regression testing, exploratory testing, load testing, security testing, performance testing, all this kind of testing. Those are the types of testing we do. So testing approach and automation tools, if applicable. An example will be, you are here, you are part, this is the manual class, this is the face of it. The next approach you'll be looking at will be the test automation tool. So what is the test automation tool? I don't know the programming language you're going to use. It could either be C# or Java in BlueSky. So it determines the various programming language. We've got Python, we have different ones that we can actually work on. So testing approach and what are the test approach we are going to take, and also the automation tools if applicable. Adding new defects, retesting, defect triage, regression, testing, and test sign-off. All these are the test approach that we are going to use. So if you add defects, how to add a defect, hopefully I pray I'll be able to teach you in the class. Is all these are kind of interesting topics that I always love to. So it's a continuation again. Step 3, test environment. So define the number of requirements and setup required for each environment. Define backup of test data and restore strategy. Then that's what you just do for test environment. Is mainly owned by the environment team or the developers, whatsoever is within their remit. But our own is to ensure that we have the right environment, we have the accesses, we can log in, we can push it. So number 4 is testing tool. So let's say you have an automation tool or a test management tool. Test management tool, an example, there are various one, many. We are talking about ADO. ADO is Azure DevOps. We talk about TFS, Team Foundation Server. We have Jira, we have Trello, we have Bugzilla, we have a lot of application tools that you can use to do. So it depends on what the organization is using. And as I've said in the last class, if you know one of the two, to be honest, you can use every other tool. one. So I would advise you that in this place, make sure that you have a clear understanding of that tool. Play with it, break it, understand it. Just little time, and I'll tell you, you can use any other tool. Figure out a number of open resources as well as commercial tools required, and determine how many users are supported on it and plan accordingly. So it depends on the organization. Places that are data sensitive, like like a place of work. Yeah, if you are working on insurance, financial organization, even to download Visual Studio. You can't do it, it's blocked. It has to be done for you by the service desk team. This is because they don't want their system or their data to be corrupted or for anybody to hack it or the integrity. So it depends on the organization you're working. So you can use open source. So continuation will be 5, release control. What is release control? So we've been talking about various test environment. So we want to control just how the releases are done. So release management plan with appropriate version history that will make sure test execution for all modification is in that release. So I gave you an example when I was talking about exit and suspension that I was testing and I got 30 to 50 bucks. I raised within 2 hours. So for me, I suspended it. So the release management team, what their remit lies is that if we've said that this is what we are releasing, they would make sure that is the actual release that we are doing. We are not doing a release that will break, that I will be able to raise 50 bucks in 2 hours. That doesn't make sense. It's just so. Then the next one is risk analysis. List all risks that you can estimate. If you notice something in test manager, we are kind of key about the risk. This is the major reason. The risk is what we should analyze early so that any issue would have been figured out and we can have everything backed up. Give a clear plan to mitigate the risk. Also, a contingency plan. Mitigation is that we might be short of people that we are going to use. What is my mitigation plan? I will call tester ABC from team this to help. Contingency, if those testers are not available at that time, then I will look for XYZ. You put another plan down. That's what the contingency plan is. Finally, review and approvals. So all these activities are reviewed and signed off by the business team, project management, development team. All these activities that we have been done, that have been done, will have to be reviewed and approved. So I told you all the test plan, the test strategy, you need to ensure that is reviewed. Summary of review changes should be traced at the beginning of the document, along with appropriate approved dates, name, and comments. To be honest with you, I just save the approval because I send an email. When I send an email, and once I get an approval, sometimes, like me, I always just have it like a backup. I do when I'm demoing the application to business users. I always do a recording. I do the recording, and after my final word to them is that, are you happy with it? Any concern? Do you want me to test? What else do you want me to test? I'd have told you what I wanted to test from the beginning. Do you have oh, I'm happy with it. So now I'll just tell them before we close the call, as a product owner, XYZ, is it possible? Are you happy with what you have seen today? Happy to sign up? They say yes. The next person, are you happy with it? Are you happy to sign up? Yes. By the time I finish, thank you so much. I'll send you an email at the end of this. And this is it. That ends. So in my email, I put all the videos, all the screenshots of whatever I've done, and I'll tell them, please, can you review and approve? So the only thing they just need to send me is approved. Once they send me that the approval to say approved, I save all the approvals and I put it in my document. Reason is that in 2 years' time, or a year down the line, or 6 months down the line, if the audit or whosoever want to, maybe there's a change request on that, or was this approved? You don't need to say much. Just go into the document, everything is there. You take it out. Because 2 years' time, or a year time, or 6 months down the line, you've moved into another project. You might even be struggling to remember if you have not been using the application for a long time. So all those are the things that you just need to make sure that you have. And so we are getting to the final phase of it, test plan versus test strategy. So I just put this for you to know the difference. Test plan. In test plan, tests focus and project scope are defined. It deals with the test coverage, scheduling, features to be tested, features not to be tested, estimation, and resource management. That's what test plan does. Test strategy is a guideline to be followed to achieve the test objectives and execution of test types mentioned in the test plan. It deals with test objectives, test environment, test approach, automation tools and strategy, contingency plan, and risk analysis. So you can see that the test strategy is kind of breaking down those things in full. The test plan states it on eye level. So, to be honest, we have finished the class, and I'll say thank you all. And now, to you all, I have to quickly look at the chats and look at your questions. You can unmute now. I'll read the first question, which says, if test estimation is done during testing plan, how will you know how many test cases will be executing in the project in order to estimate how long the test process will take? Do you design the test cases before test planning then? So, very good question. So the first phase, let's start all in the test plan. Your estimation would have been eye level. One is that I want you to always remember, test plan is also subject to, you can update it. But when you are doing this, you should have thought of maybe with experience-based or with a similar project, how you can measure it. Let's say, for example, project A was done and 3 weeks was used and X number of test cases were raised. I'm giving an example. That's one phase. You can use that same yardstick to do an estimation here. As I said, it's plus or minus. They are not expecting it. It's not an accurate thing, but it gives you a visibility and a mindset of what you want to do. If you think that from your view, with the route at which this is going to go, in project A, we designed 10 test cases. This is a new integration. Let's times it by 2. It will be 20 test cases. Then you'll be able to break down the metrics. But you are meant to write your test plan first. When you are designing the test plan, that is when your next phase will now be designing the test cases. So your question here will be, you now said, in order to estimate how long the test process will take, do you design the test cases before test planning? No. Because the first thing is, you are meant to do a test plan. It should be approved by the whole thing. Even if you don't want to break your metrics down, You should have been given to say, okay, how many weeks are you going to? You look at the project at large. All these things to say, this is how long this is going to take. You give it to us, we have 4 weeks. You give it to us 2 weeks, we can test it. You know the project scope. When you're going for the meeting, you know the remit of what you want to test. You will think about it, that this is it. They're not holding you on the spot, neither giving you anything. But you just need to have a clear understanding that in your test plan, the metrics we want to do, we are working on project A. If you have a previous project that you can rely on the metrics, fantastic. If not, if you don't have a project that you can rely on, you have been going for the meeting, you have been asking your question, what are the user stories? We have 9 user stories. In the 9 user story, how do you feel we need to test? So for this, well, your 9 user story is an estimate. It's not accurate. It is subject to changes. It's an estimate. You might not go back and design and find out that this is the test cases have increased, but it's an estimate. You are always within the guide. So always, that's the way to estimate it. But to be honest, you have to do your test plan. Then after then, you do your test design. Because your test planning phase, you all are still going for the meeting. You're still planning. User story are still on the way. They've not even given you your full user story. So how do you want to know how to design the test case? Is when you have your user story with the acceptance criteria. That's when you can start designing. So the first phase will be test planning. Then your next phase will now be your test case design. So just is an estimate. So just at large, you can ask that, has there been similar projects? How many test cases were designed? You can use that as a yardstick. Is how do we check that test environment is ready and stable? Is this done in collaboration with the developers? Exactly. 2 ways. You have said you can either check it when you are given the link. The first thing you need to look at is that, can you access that link? If yes, fantastic. You'll be able to access the link. If no, then you need to bring the developer in. This is crashing. Let me know. But the expectation is that they give you the link. It should work. That's the reason they said they've developed. So if not, you pull them in and they'll be able to be checking from backend to see what it is. So any other question, please, you can unmute yourself before we round up the class, before I ask my question. If you have a question, please let me know.
Sorry, quick one. So a quick one. At what point will you? So all these documents that I needed. At what point would you start creating them? Because I understand that if you, let's say, for example, you're doing a refinement session, right? Is that when you prepare all of these documents, or do they happen in stages? I think I'm just a bit confused about that.
Thank you. So, great question. So these documents are prepared in phases. Phase 1, go back to your fundamental test process. 1, first phase is test planning and control. What is your sprint 1? Your sprint 1, you don't have the application, you don't know anything. Correct me? You don't have any user story, nothing. You are all starting, they are only explaining to you. At that phase, you can start laying a foundation of that test plan with all the information you're getting. You can start with that. You can start with an initial draft. So when your sprint 2, when things start coming to shape a bit, maybe you will now have 1 or 2 user story. You can from there get more information and add it into your test plan. And I've said, test plan is a template. We have a template. So in the template, it's told you that you must add features to be tested. You can place it as a placeholder. Let me tell you from the scratch, your test plan, the first page will be the project name. on your first page, very bold. Under it will just be maybe the author, the date, and the maybe is the version, is it draft, is it issued. Then the second page will be your document control. What is the version? What is what is the version? The first one is just maybe like one line. The author, who is the author? Maybe you are 3 or 4 in your team, or 1 in your team. You write the name of the person that created the test plan, initial draft. The next one, distribution list. Who are the people you want to distribute to? The project manager, you put his name. The product owner, you put their name. The developers, you put their names. The data analyst or solution architect, whosoever is within your team that you feel that needs to review the document, you put it there, your distribution list. So when you're sending an email out, they're the people you're going to send an email to. Then the third part of it, in the same page, is the people to the approvals. Who are the approvals? If you have a test manager, if not, the product owner should be an approval. Maybe one of the dev lead should be an approval, a test manager, if there is one or not. If there is none, then you can have a Scrum Master who can either do, but someone, a business analyst, can also approve it. Then finally, on the related documents. What are related documents? You have related documents. Maybe you have the user story where they are stored. If they have it as a document, you can attach it. That's what is there. Then the third page will be your table of content. What are the table of content? What are the things they are going to do? So introduction, the project, the testing background or the project background, the next phase, features to be tested, features, all those lists will be your table of content. Then the fourth page, you start introduction. What is introduction? What are you getting to do? 3 or 1 paragraph is fine. You talk about the project background, but the project background, you should have a document to state that this is the user story, this is what you want to do. They would have given you something that this is. So the project mandate should be your project background. Then the next thing, you go to features to be tested, features not to be tested. All these are things that are already given to you as part of the document. You are just iterating it into your document. Then the next thing, you go to your test approach. What are your test approach? The test levels you're going to do, types of testing, functional testing, load testing, performance testing. I'm already telling you how to write it. This is the way my test plans are going to be divided. Then if you have maybe automation tools, you add it. What tools are you going to use? Put them, put the pictures, put it there. Then find your test estimation in a big one. If you know you don't have a clear visibility of it, just for now, just put a milestone to say maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you might not have a visibility of it. So you can niche that place and write it to be decided. So you can put it there, TBD. So when you put it there, they know it's to be decided. Test environment to be decided if you don't have one. Then you put your resource. What are the resourcing activities? Put the developers testers. You put your name there. Who is in charge of this project? The product owners. All those things are the thing. So at the last end, what are you doing? You're already putting in dependencies, assumption, anything that you feel more. Those are the things that you need to feel. So that's the document that you're meant to do in this sprint 1, moving to sprint 2. So sprint 2 now should now be the next phase of your test. That's test analysis and design. So when you will write that task as test analysis and design, then you put it and you add it and you put all the things that you need to add there. So what are your test analysis? You break it down. User story 1. Maybe these are the things that you're going to write. Design the test case for universal story 1. User story 2, design the test cases, and you divide it in between yourselves. So those are the things you have to you have to do. Then the third one will be the implementation phase. So these are in phases. They are not just going to be written as one. So when you do the test plan, you now send it to all the distribution list, tell them to review it. They come back to you with their review or their comments. When they come, you add the comments, you refine it, you send the latest one. Please, can you they must approve it. Then you add the approvals to it. So you can see that I'm still in the test planning phase. I've not even gone to the design. So once it's done, then you do the design. So, but you can, if things are going quite slow, you can now be, but it's wise to just do it in that phase. Do the test plan, but you can be doing it in parallel and be doing your test design. I hope this is clear enough.
Yeah,
Hello?
no, yeah, you know, it's good. I think I need to I think I need to re-listen to this again because yeah, I'm still very much confused on terms of the process. But I think I've got a rough understanding of it. I just need to
So
read
now
it.
the question I need to ask you, what phase are you in your project now?
Well, for me, I'm on the advanced class. I'm only just joining in on the just testing course, so I'm not in any
Okay.
project at the moment.
Okay, so you're in the advance.
Yeah,
So if you're in the advance, I believe you must have gone through all this phase. So if
I'm doing BA, but I'm just in the testing to kind of
okay, you're doing BA.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah. So mainly for that, the main thing is your take home should be that these are in phases. They are meant to be done in phases. But as I've said, projects most of the time, deadlines are to be met. So things might come kind of clumsy. You might be doing things in parallel. But I would advise that if you are doing anything, any project, you must have a test plan designed and approved. Likewise, you must have your test design in your test cases designed and uploaded in any defect management tool. So the expectation is you start off with the test design and control, mainly your test plan, your test strategy. You start with them. One of the documents should suffice. Then the next phase will now be your design. It's not bringing everything together, because if you do the test planning, it's easier for people to be able to approve, and you'll be able to have a control of what you are doing, so that now when you give them the test plan, everybody understands that this is what these people are looking at achieving. And as I've said, test plan is more of, it's a template. You can get a lot of them out there. And tonight, my assignment will be, for each project you are working on as a test team here, you need to design your test plan. To be honest, it doesn't take 2 to 3 times. So you can speak to Rita. If she's there, she should have the templates of that test plan. But I would just advise you two can design your template, look to it to be. But I know I've given quite a lot of template in previous listings. So once you speak to Rita, she should give you a template of test plan. So best thing, design your test plan. It doesn't take time. With 2 hours, you design it, then you come together as a team. If you are more than 2, 3 in a team, you come together as a team. You share it within yourself, then you collate it together, and you make it one document. So that's the way it is. Hopefully, I'm able to answer your question correctly. So your assignment to all the testers here is that you must design your test plan. And finally, I would now ask my question. So in the beginning, I started off with there are two phases of test plan. I would ask, what are the 2 phases? If you know, just unmute yourself.
Plan and execution.
Exactly. Thank you so much. So for the planning, list what you know, some of them. Thank you. Thank you. Whosoever said that has gotten good. Someone is raising their hand. Christopher. No, is it Christopher or Jack? Jack, you raised your hand. Oh no.
No, it was me.
Okay, no. It's
Should
just my cousin.
should I continue recording or can I stop it now?
Yeah, you can stop it, please. You can.